Let's talk about the thunderstorm generator. What exactly is it? You see, people get lost in the first portion of the thunderstorm generator. They look at the ionization and then they look at the bubbles and they try to understand what's going on there. Let me just tell you, it's a very simple process. All you're trying to do is break the bubbles down to the smallest possible bubbles that you possibly can in order to separate them in the next part of the thunderstorm generator. So this is the heart of it right here. This portion right here is the most important part of this whole system. It's where you're going to get transmutation. It's where you're going to get your harmonics from. You're going to get sacred geometry. Bob Greenyer talks about this all the time when he talks about the sacred geometry. Now, let me tell you, this is going to be kind of difficult if you do not understand harmonics. But that's okay. We're going to talk about it today on a level where you can understand what's going on. So, let's start off with this. Very simple, very understandable. If I take this Tesla coil and I put it next to this Tesla coil right here, right? This Tesla coil is automatically going to put plasma out the top. This Tesla coil has to be tuned to the exact same frequency of this one while the number 1 coil and the number 2 coil are oscillating, which basically means this Tesla coil, even if it says 360 when you put it there on your oscilloscope, this says 360, right? It's going to drop 100 kilohertz. That number is the exact number that has to go into this. Now, build the first one, go on, build the second one. It's fairly easy. What happens when you put them next to each other? Here's where your harmonics start to come in. This one right here picks up everything into it while this one's oscillating. Now, there's going to be a null zone right here. You're going to get a north and you're going to get a south. Each one of them creates a tornado up and a tornado down. Each one of them puts out plasma. This one is attached to the power source. This has no physical attachment whatsoever. It is simply a number 2 coil. The reason I tell you this is because you have to understand that you're going to create plasma out of this just by understanding harmonics and frequency. It'll create plasma on its own. You see, you get confused with this Tesla coil because this one right here, you're putting something in. So you talk about, oh, how many volts, how many amps, how am I going to make it work? How am I going to create this? But what are you creating? You're simply creating the frequency. You're creating that ring. That ring looks like a tornado in real life. Now you're starting to create your harmonics. Your harmonics transfer wirelessly into this. The more tuned your first coil is, the more energy you get out of your second coil. Now I say this because we're creating out of harmonics electricity. We're creating plasma. Y'all want to make plasmoids? You all want to create ball lightning? How are you going to do it? Well, if you understood the Tesla coil in the way it's supposed to be understood, the Tesla coil ring, the harmonics of it, okay? The octaves. Do you understand if it's in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth? Do you understand if it's in A, B, C, D, E, and an F? Do you understand those things? If you do, then this was fairly easy exercise for you. You absolutely have it. You have energy being created in a ball, and that's the way it works. All it has to have is the frequency. It has to have the harmonics in it. You can create the energy. You say, well, those things sound abstract. They don't sound like that you're putting energy into it to create the energy, but they are. You see, the frequency The harmonics, they are the energy. Pretty different understanding than the way that you understand your circuits, isn't it? With that very understanding, let's go into the thunderstorm generator and let's start to understand this a little better. Harmonic series on A, just like that. Here are the numbers they break out to. What do you got to know? This is pretty simple. Let's just make this easy. First one starts out in A, it's 55. All we have to do is add that number each time to the next one. 55 plus 55 is 110, plus 55 is 165. That's really easy, right? That's all we're doing. 55, 110, 165, and so on. Let's just keep this simple, guys. That's it. For every one that goes 2 to 1, you have an octave. Okay, so you're just building a musical scale here. That's about as simple as it gets. I don't want to go any more into it. Please refer to somebody who does this every day to understand that. Our understanding doesn't have to go much further than that. We just have to understand it in this as well. When I take a string right here and I hold it tight and then I vibrate it, I get this right here. Full string vibration. When I let loose the tension a little bit, it goes in halves. When I do it a little bit more, it goes in thirds. A little bit more in fourths, and then so on and down. Now, with that understanding, and I know it's a lot there, you don't have to know much more than that about it. Our distance here is where we're going to get it. That's why it's important. Our distance here is where it is. That's why it's important. We are literally creating a music scale with this device. What else are we creating? We create our in, which is hot, our out, which is cold. You go, oh, sorry, I do that. You understand what I mean? Either way, hot comes in, cold comes out. You go, okay, well, hold on. We just talked about Tesla coil. We said they're tornadoes. Hot and cold, tornado. Every time we hear it on the news, hot and cold system come together, we start creating tornadoes, right? Oh, we're starting to put it together now. This man is literally trying to make a tornado between these 2 points. He's ringing this sucker like a bell in order to do it. See, he correctly understood every time they put something into the music scale, he gets something else. So let's look at this in a different way. Tornado down to a point. The ring of our Tesla coil. They're the same thing. Right here, right here, right here, right here. Now we're getting our octaves. Right here. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. Now we understand what we're doing. We now associate that with a frequency. Now, that's pretty simple, right? That's a Tesla coil ring, that's our tornado. When I tell you he's creating the tornado here, now it should start to make sense. He's ringing each one, and each one of these balls will put off something that looks like this. Pretty simple, right? Ring them, just like bells. Now we start to create our plasma. That's your null zone, right there. There's your ring, right here where it comes out, on each one. Each one of these has the ring, and the plasma now comes out here. Now I have two plasmoids. In rotation here. But I also have, if I say this is my outside, this is my inside, I now have cold and heat. Now I can create this just like nature does. That's why it's the thunderstorm generator. You are literally taking the harmonics like the earth does. You're creating plasma, just like we see in our Tesla coil. We're creating a ring, just like we see in our Tesla coil, and using harmonics to get there. This is the simplest understanding you can get of this. Now, if you're a builder, it starts to get a little bit more complicated. You see, all of this has to do with math. All of it. You're going to have to take this thing down and break it down. Every single number matters. If your number isn't correct, my distance here and here, my distance here and here, if they're not correct, you'll be in the wrong octave. You could be completely out of frequency. You can be in between them. You see, each one matters. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to calculate it based on the volume of a sphere. Each one, you're going to have to do the calculation. V equals 4 over 3 times pi times the radius to the third power. All this, guys, that's not really hard to break down. Okay? That's pi, right there. 8.539. That's this. You just got to put that number right here. Your radius. What is the distance between this and this right here? That's my radius. Okay? That's pretty simple. We just take the R out and we replace it with a number. Third power, right here. What do we got to do? We got to take the number, say if it's 3, multiply it by 3 by 3. That's pretty simple. We could do that, right? Now we broke down the problem fairly easily. Every one is multiplied by the next one, right? Pretty simple understanding volume of a sphere. When you're building it, you're going to have to understand that because these have to be exact. This layer, this layer, this layer. They have to be exact because in order for this to work, it must create the correct distance to create the correct harmonic in order for it to run. In a very few seconds, we just covered, a few minutes I should say, we covered a lot of ground. Guys, this is not for the first time person out there to try to build. This is a very advanced build. This part has very specific instructions on how to build it. It's a known formula to work. Now, once you build the first one, and only once you build the first one, can you build the second one and change it. And you're going to change the distances here in order to change the values. Then you're going to find out if it works. That's pretty much all you can do. Now, is there cheating ways to do this? If you have some of these parts already built and you already have the sphere itself, ring it. Tap it and ring it. Find out what the frequencies are on every single one of them. Then calculate it out and see exactly what you get. That's not real hard. That's pretty easy math. This is basic stuff. If you're into this kind of stuff, it should be fairly easy. Okay, most people who are building things would have no problem building this. Now, let's get into the good part. Sacred geometry. See, a lot of people don't understand this part. You see, all over the world, they continuously put this stuff up everywhere. They're dealing in things that we don't yet understand. We have a clue. We're getting there. We're not there yet. There's few who understand it. And for those people, they probably work under a NDA in a government lab somewhere. For the rest of us, we have to figure it out on our own. This right here is a musical scale. I know Bob says it's sacred geometry. I'm telling you right now, it's a musical scale. It is your harmonic scale. This right here has one dipole. When I say that, what am I looking at? I am simply creating this in one direction. That's it. If I say it's north, that's all I'm creating. If I say I started here, and I say that's south, that's all I'm creating. In that geometry, plasmoids, it is cycling down here. You are creating the south end of your dipole. That's it. That's what it's telling you. That's what that sacred geometry is telling you. That's why some of these circles are overlapping in different areas than they would if you put it in a north and south both configuration. So if I did this, now this right here is going to change just a little bit. And it goes back to the regular scaling that you would normally see. That's why the geometries are slightly different. These circles won't line up in the same spots because now I have a north pole and I have a south pole. This right here, by the way, was right here. This coil has the null zone, has the north, has the south. Generally, I'd tell you this is a bipolar Tesla coil when it does it. Now, if you build a bipolar Tesla coil, by the way, the amount that you push it up or down like this, or you should say like this, however you want to configure it, you're going to create one side that has more energy than the other. That is simply which side that you're creating. More energy to the south, you're creating the south dipole stronger than the north. That's simple. Pretty easy. You can change it back and forth and put energy on either side if you want. Thunderstorm generator works on equal energy and plasmoids. This simple understanding of this coil right here, it's so profound in exactly what you're trying to do. Create plasma out of one side, create plasma out of the other. It's natural in nature. Why do I need to know the volume of a sphere? Oh, baby. This is where I love working in. The Earth has fields at every layer, creating cavitation. Every time you look at this, this is cavitation. The energy in our earth goes positive to negative to positive. Just like that. That's our earth. That's what we're in. Cavitation at every level. Now, here's the best part. If you understood this, sorry, I do that kind of bad. If I told you that right there is your Russell scale. Transmutation happens because you are literally in the Russell scale as you look at this. You go, well, hold on. You're telling me the periodic table's in the Russell scale in this. Yeah, it is. Both sides. Okay? So what am I doing here? It changes our understanding. We are literally transmutating between here and here. So, okay, well, how are we transmutating? Okay. Still not that hard. If my element was like this, I am simply breaking that apart. I want to take this and move it out, move this one out, and move this one out. Now, as my exhaust comes in, I am now bonding new parts. You see, the bubbler preps everything in your original part right there, your original part. It now bonds everything to it. Now, it's transmutating it from what it was, just like this, to what it is now. You can take in anything that comes into it, transmutate it from the original to another element, and drop it out the other side. It is literally doing transmutation in that device. That's what's so cool about it. You see, the bubbler itself's preparing it. There's no difference between Stan Myers when he's doing his water car. He's doing the same thing. He's prepping it. He's getting the bubbling going. He's getting it to separate all of the molecules in there. Then what does he do? When the new ones come in, he puts them together. Stan Meyer separates them by creating a magnetic field. A lot of people don't understand this. Oxygen, magnetic. Okay? When Stan Myers does it, he takes these tubes right here, runs it through them, creates a magnetic field. It holds inside of it all the oxygen, while through it goes the hydrogen. That's it. This all gets shipped off to another area where then it goes back and re-puts together the oxygen and the water to make your H2O. That's Stan Myers. He's separating it based on the magnetic field because oxygen in this form is magnetic. So, transmutation, we're doing the same thing here. But instead of recombining or anything like that, this is just separating. We're going to recombine it. We want those elements to become a new element out the exhaust of it. There we go. Now, what else could it be doing? If it doesn't create that, it could just simply be burning off the other elements. You see, that's the part that nobody really has defined in this whole experiment. Is he burning off molecules? Is he transmutating those into something else by burning them off? Or is he creating the new molecule to go out the other side? Pretty interesting thing to look at. Does it really affect how we're going to use this? Well, since we're not using it every day and we're just trying to understand what he's doing, it's not going to affect us which process he uses. It's more of the understanding of why harmonics is in this thing. That's really what we want to look at here. Harmonics is one of the least understood things in this as far as energy production. You see, when Don Smith does it, you don't really realize what he's doing, do you? You see, he creates half of a coil in order to make another one double that size, yet they resonate together. If I took this coil and this one here, and I said I want to isolate that half in order to make this one ring, will it? The answer is yes. Okay, well that's not hard, all right? But it already told us that right here. Here and here. We're breaking it down. That was that one right there. Then you go down, it's double or half. Third. You get what I'm trying to say here. We're breaking these things down. What's the most important thing that you can take from this? Is it's all related. Every little bit of it works on the next thing. When you start creating it in the correct order, you start to see devices work even better. You see, they talk about a runaway device, when you put things in sync with the exact same resonance. Wasn't that what we're looking for? You're looking to be at 98% of that resonance. At 100%, you're not going to control it. You're going to have a sun on your hands and you know what I mean, you'll be bashing a device to pieces in order to stop it. You want about 98%. You're going to take those efficiencies that the government gives you and you're going to go way, way beyond them. That's what we're looking for in these devices. Thunderstorm generator is an absolutely beautiful machine. If you can understand the harmonics of it, you can understand it. If you have no idea what the harmonics are, build it to the exact specifications he gave you. That's what you have to do. Every material will be different, by the way. You see, aluminum doesn't ring at the same thing that steel rings at, that some other material like copper rings at. Everything rings differently. So you have to check each one. Stick with the materials he gives you. There's a very specific reason for it. He's going for something, and you have to build it to find out. That's it. But the understanding doesn't change. We are literally creating plasma just like we did in our Tesla coil. You see, that's why I do all these Tesla coils experiments, because I want to know exactly what's going on. I want to know from the man himself, from Tesla, how everything's working. Then it starts to explain everything else. You just have to look for the clues because they're all there. They're all overlapping each other. You see, one person says it's all this, one person says all that, one person says all this. Well, they haven't put it all together yet. I'm trying to put it together for you so you understand it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I hope you can look at this thing in a different way so that you can better understand it. But the math on this has to be precise. Please understand that. I didn't go into every part of it. I would suggest that you guys look up somebody who does this for a living and does it on YouTube. They're going to better explain each part of it. But now at least you know exactly where to go. Guys, once we understand this, we understand the weather as well. I hope you really do understand this. We can understand how you would manipulate weather or change other things based on this. We're literally getting into the harmonics of the earth once you start to understand this. It's going to take a lot more knowledge on each specific part to get you there, but you'll get there. This is where it leads. This is why they don't want you to understand a lot of it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it today. Have a great day. Thank you. Before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that I offer memberships on my channel now. It's a really cool thing. I do behind the scenes stuff. I give you more information. I also put things out early on it. All of my Fringe Think Tank Star Trek episodes will be on there. I just put out another one, a number 7 episode. Also, you're going to get emojis on there that you can use in the live chats. They're pretty cool. And as we grow our membership, I'll be able to put more emojis out there. Just a fun way to liven up the chat a little bit. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And have yourself a great day. Thank you very much.